So this week's Shut the F Up goes to this plum, this absolute plum of plums. Let me find him. Let me find this individual. Where is he? Where are you? There he is. Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick is known as the Right Honourable Robert Jenrick. He's the Conservative MP for Newark. He's been an MP continually since June 2014. He currently undertakes the role of Shadow Secretary of State for Justice. And the reason that I've chosen this man is because I believe this man is not a Britain first person, even though he portrays himself as. Remember what I said last week? People who are screaming the most and the loudest about being patriotic are turning out to be the biggest traitors that we have. And there's a number of things I want to talk about Robert Jenrick and why he's earned the title of Shut the F Up this week. Is first of all, there was a leaked recording of him, which found its way into the hands of a Guardian journalist. In it, Jenrick said, I went to Handsworth in Birmingham the other day to do a video on litter, and it was absolutely appalling. It's as close as I've come to a slum in this country. But the other thing I noticed there was it was one of the worst integrated places I've ever been to. In fact, in the hour and a half I was filming news there, I didn't see another white face. How does he know they are poorly integrated based on spending just over an hour and a half there? He doesn't. And at least 5 people from Birmingham, the surrounding area, have contacted me, say they are outraged by what he said. In fact, the area that he's talking about is a deeply integrated area, which includes white people, right? The fact is, Robert Jenrick made these sweeping generalizations because Robert Jenrick is a divisive piece of filth who has worked very hard to be part of the toxic mouthpieces looking to distract our attention, while the type of people he likes the most, globalists and Zionists, get on with the business of harming us. In fact, as I say, Robert Jenrick is deeply wrong about integration. I will quote one of the people who contacted me. They said, go along the main street. You will see Hindus, Muslims, Christians. A lot of them are of African and Caribbean extract and, of course, origin. And there are a ton of white people. What is he talking about? I'll tell you what he's talking about. He's talking about division. Another person wrote in and said, our community is an example of different communities working together well, respecting each other while not standing on each other's toes. But he wouldn't care about any of that because that's not Robert Jenrick's role. I want to take you back to COVID. Anybody remember, that C-19 farce? See, I've long had a problem with Robert Jenrick, not least his exploits during C-19. He traveled to visit his parents while he dared to tell the rest of us to stay at home to curb the spread of coronavirus. But he got in his car and he drove to his parents. He claimed he was dropping off food and medication to them, but it showed what a two-faced, one rule for him and one rule for the rest of us, piece of filth that Robert Jenrick is. But also, more importantly, he traveled because he knew there was nothing to worry about, but still he was prepared to spread the message of stay at home, although not for him. This is a man who is desperate to be leader. He has to get rid of Kemi Badenoch. So he's desperate to be leader. He's vowed to his Israeli allies that should he become PM, he will move the British embassy to Jerusalem. That's one of the things that he's vowed to do. Jenrick is not Jewish, but his wife and children are. And I am telling you here and now, in my opinion, Robert Jenrick is a traitor. He's Israel first. Not only has he spent much of the last week being given media space by his Zionist mates and bleating about what an awful time British Jews are having, but he has previously made a big promise to honor Jews in a way that is clearly preferential. He once told a Conservative Friends of Israel event, and he was there. I wonder if I've got an image of him, actually. Let me just see if I can find it. There we go. He once told a Conservative Friends of Israel event, right? So he appeared, he was wearing a black hoodie emblazoned with the words Hamas are terrorists. And he told the Conservative Friends of Israel event, I want this country to be the most welcoming country in the world for Israelis and for the Jewish community. But why though? Why the most welcoming country in the world? Why can't we just be welcoming? And he said that while he was immigration minister, he had pushed for Israelis traveling to Britain to be able to use e-gates. He said that this would mean at every airport and point of entry to our great country, there would be a Star of David as a symbol that we support Israel. Sod off, Jenrick. We are sick of this. We're so sick of this. I'm so over all of this. I'm so sick and tired of these awful, awful people with their Israel first. And so he was using his time when he was employed as a British minister, which he still is now, to advocate for Israel. That's what he was doing. A Star of David at every entry point, for goodness sake. But the other reason why I've chosen him as this week's Shut the F Up is we talked last week about how the band Kneecap, they'd had to dismiss the allegations of terrorism charge against one of the lead rappers, Mo Kara. And they'd had to do this because the Metropolitan Police and the CPS were in such a rush to charge Mo Kara with an offence that they didn't go do their due diligence. They didn't go through the proper process, which was involving the Attorney General. And so Paul Goldspring, the chief magistrate, had no alternative but to throw the whole thing out. Well, Robert Jenrick is absolutely furious because I'm sure that his Israeli and Zionist allies are going absolutely insane, right? Because obviously Kneecap have stood up very strong against the genocide that is taking place in Gaza. And so Jenrick, he started mouthing off like a crazy individual last week. He's badmouthed the judicial system, badmouthed the judges, and the Attorney General sent him a very strongly worded letter warning him not to prejudice a future appeal on the decision to drop the terrorism charge against rapper Liam O'Hannon. And so what happened was Mo Kara, Liam, aka Liam, the 27-year-old, he was charged with the alleged display of a flag in support of a proscribed terrorist group, Hezbollah, London gig. And as I say, it fell through because the police and the CPS were in such a rush to charge them. We are an infiltrated country. I've told you this, and we all know this. We're an infiltrated country, and there's clearly a problem when it comes to anything to do with Israel and Gaza. It overshadows what is even taking place in our own country because so many of our politicians are captured by the Israeli lobby, including Friends of Israel. This is the reality. And I'm sorry, but we also have very bent cops as well. We have bent people throughout our authority, and we have to be really careful. But Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, is not happy and says that Robert Jenrick needs to carefully consider any further public comments to avoid any risk of prejudicing any future proceedings. So they still want to be able to charge Mo Kara from Kneecap. But anyway, Robert Jenrick is all up in arms about it. Now, let me just be clear here, because this is really important. And that is Robert Jenrick is Shadow Justice Secretary. He is formerly a qualified solicitor. And he doesn't seem to understand how the law works because he is blinded by his love of Zionism and going after anybody who seems to create problems for that. At the Conservative conference last week, his speech included the emotive expression New Order. That was in part a Nazi term that Hitler used to talk of a vision of Germany. And Jenrick was full of we need to get rid of the old order. It's time to bring in the new order, all this stuff. He is a divisive piece of filth. That's why he's won this week's award of Shut the F Up. He creates division. He's been given donations by Friends of Israel as well as the Israeli lobbyists. He is captured by a foreign state and is therefore not able to adequately represent the people of our great nation for which he is paid to represent. Therefore, he absolutely rightly deserves this week's Shut the F Up. And yeah, that's my take on that.